Hi YouTube, thank you so much for clicking on my channel. So in this video, I wanted to have a quick conversation about a case that I had seen years and years ago on the show Disappeared, which is still one of my all-time favorite shows, even though it's no longer in production. Now, the reason why this particular case really resonated with me was because I was so frustrated with how law enforcement did a really weak job in trying to figure out what happened to this particular person. The case I'm referring to is the case of John Spira, a 45-year-old man who went missing from Chicago, Illinois in 2007. So he owned his own business. It was a utility cable company called Universal Cable Construction, and he was also a member of a blues band. Music was his hobby. It was his passion. I think he played the bass guitar in this particular band. And he was going through a divorce with his wife Suzanne, and they were like at the final, towards the end of finalizing their divorce. And believe it or not, they were still living in the same marital home, but they were occupying different sections of the home. So on Thursday, February the 2nd, 2007, 9 p.m., he's sitting at his usual stool at the bar with his girlfriend, Renata. She meets up with him. And on the show, Renata recounted that particular night when she met up with John, he seemed a little bit preoccupied, maybe a little bit stressed. And she attributed to him maybe having some anxiety or feeling a little bit anxious about the meeting the next day that he was going to have with his attorney and with his estranged wife to go through the details of the divorce. So they stayed at Brian's Char House at this particular bar. Him and Renata stayed there until about 3 a.m. Now, the next day, Friday, February the 23rd, 2007, he has breakfast at his favorite restaurant. He's about to enter into the final negotiations of the divorce with his wife, Suzanne. He goes over the final details with his attorney and Suzanne. And one of the things that might have contributed to his divorce was that a few years prior, Suzanne's daughter, which is John Spira's stepdaughter, was actually charged with killing her boyfriend. And this happened in Buffalo, New York. So she was charged, she went to trial, and in order for Suzanne to, be able to attend the trial, she had to move to Buffalo, New York. So when she moved temporarily out of their marital home, I guess this must have caused a strain in their marriage. I don't know exactly how long the trial lasted. I don't even know the outcome of that particular trial, but that probably had contributed to the, deterioration of their marriage. So she moves to Buffalo, New York full time so she can be there for her daughter. The divorce was supposed to be in its final stages, as I said before, and it was supposed to be finalized the following month. So that particular day, John had a business meeting, and he appeared very positive, very upbeat. He didn't act depressed. He didn't act like he was about to do anything really out of the ordinary, about to do anything really crazy. He had planned to celebrate with his friend the next day, I guess, to celebrate the finalization of the divorce. So he goes to his own business, his own place of business, to do some work. He calls Renata, his girlfriend, to make plans for dinner. She declines. She said that John seemed a little bit disappointed that she couldn't meet up with him for dinner. And she tells him that, you know what, I can't make it, but, you make other plans for dinner. It's fine. 5:30 p.m., he leaves his place of business. He walks across the parking lot, and this man is never seen again. That evening, he never calls to tell Renata, what plans he made for dinner that night. She attempts to call him. He doesn't answer his phone. She says that this was a little bit out of character for him because usually if he doesn't answer right away, he'll at least call her back. But she called him several times. He never returned to any of her calls. So she assumed that maybe he was just upset about her not meeting him for dinner, and maybe he was just, ignoring her because he was upset. The next day, Saturday, and she didn't think too much of it because she just assumed that, well, I'll see him the next day at the bar because he was supposed to be performing that night. So the next day, Saturday, February the 24th, 2007, which is the night where he was supposed to perform at Brian's Char House, he meets up. John's friend, Jim, also was getting a little bit worried because he was supposed to meet up with John before John went to his gig for that night. So Jim leaves a voicemail message. No response from John. Renata arrives at the bar that night, and she expected to see him there because usually he'll get there early, to set up the band equipment, get everything right on the stage, etc. She doesn't see his truck. She walks into the bar. She doesn't see him, but she does see the other band members. So the band is setting up, getting ready to perform, and there's no sign of John. So they play their first song, and I remember Renata saying that she felt really antsy because she wanted them to hurry up, get through that first song, so that she could go up to them and talk to them about John, like, where's my boyfriend? Why isn't he here performing with y'all? So it's really unusual for him to not be there because he's never missed a gig in over 20 years. And he's even played through 103 temperature. That's how dedicated he was to his band, to his music, etc. And he was known around Chicago. He was known around town as Chicago Johnny, and he played, the biggest venues in Chicago. So he had made a name for himself in this band as a blues musician. So Renata leaves the venue to go to his home to see maybe, he wasn't feeling well or something, and maybe he's still at his house. So she drives, she's on her way to his house, but she gets caught in a snowstorm. The snow was really, really bad that night. The snowstorm was really bad that night. There was a lot of snow falling. The roads were completely covered in snow. So it really wasn't the best conditions for her to be driving that night. So she calls the police thinking that maybe he had gotten into an accident, because the roads were so bad. And she wanted to make a missing persons report over the phone, but the police said it has to be the next of kin. So she decides, well, maybe if I go to the police station, they'll make the report. She goes to the police station. They still wouldn't take a report because she had to be the next of kin. And the next of kin was the estranged wife, Suzanne. So they tried to get Suzanne to do the missing persons report. Suzanne felt like he really wasn't missing, so she didn't do it. Now we're on to Sunday, the next day, February the 25th, 2007. This is 2 days after he was last seen. So finally, Suzanne does make a missing persons report. And the police, they start doing their investigation. They check his cell phone to see, if there's any information that his cell phone can provide as far as like where it might have pinged. They didn't find the phone itself, but they checked, cell phone records to figure out it, to see if they could figure out where he was last to be at. So they see where the cell phone had pinged, and they go and they search that particular area. And it was a vast area, but there was no sign of him whatsoever. His truck ended up being found at his place of business. And he's someone that he goes everywhere with his truck. He won't even go down the street without his truck. So to find his truck at his place of business, but not him, was very, very worrisome. His family is notified that he's missing. His family, I think, is still back in Arizona. They're notified that he's missing. The wife files the missing persons report. So it's an official missing persons case. The police do their investigation. They don't find hide or tail of this man anywhere. He also had a pilot's license. So now the police are thinking, well, maybe he just took off. Okay, but his truck is still at his place of business. If he was going to go to the airport, to go into a private jet, private plane or whatever, to go fly off somewhere, how did he get there? So the police speculate that maybe someone picked him up from his place of business and drove him to the airport. They checked records, flight records, commercial flights, private flights, all this. Can't find no records of him whatsoever. So the family, they try to do whatever they can. So they're searching, they're out there searching for this man. The police are looking for him. The girlfriend's looking for him. Nothing. They can't find a fingerprint, a footprint, a hair, nothing. They don't know where this man is. So finally, months later, now we're into September 2007, his family decides to put up like a huge banner to assist with, maybe someone out there would have recognized him, and, they'll be able to call law enforcement and help out. So they put this huge banner of his face, his picture, law enforcement contact information, his demographic, height, weight, what he was wearing, hair color, eye color, all of that. And it's this huge banner that they placed near his place of business, actually facing the building of where he worked at. Hours after that banner goes up, someone tears it down. They put it up again the next day. Gets torn down again the next day. Then, soon after the second banner gets torn down, his place of business catches on fire and burns down to the ground. So his family's thinking, okay, well, now that his place of business is burnt down, The two banners that we've put up have been torn down, ripped apart. Maybe now law enforcement will take this case more seriously and try to figure out what happened to this man. Throughout the whole show, law enforcement, the detectives, whoever, kept on saying, you know what, it's possible that he just could have walked away from his life. Maybe he just decided to disappear. Hey, an adult has the right to disappear. And that's what got me really frustrated, because it was like his whole family is saying there's no way this man would have disappeared. There was nothing going on in his life that would cause him to just walk away without telling anyone. His best friend said that if he wanted to start a new life somewhere else, he would have told us. It would not have been a big deal. He's an adult. He would have just said, hey, for whatever reason, I want to move to China. I want to move to Canada. I want to move to Timbuktu. He would have told his family, I'm not happy here or whatever, and he would have done whatever he had to do, but he would not have left his family without saying anything. He was very close with his family, extremely close to his brother. His mother was going through some medical conditions. He never would have left his mother. There was just no way that this man would have left without saying anything. And so the more that the family tried to encourage the police department to do something, because look, we're putting up banners trying to find our brother, trying to find our son. Someone is tearing these. Who does that? Who tears down the banners of a missing person other than someone who's harmed that missing person? Police don't think nothing of it. Okay, then the building, his place of business, burns down to the ground. They're thinking, okay, now the cops are going to do something about it. It's going to, encourage them, motivate them to try to figure out like what happened. His building has burnt down to the ground. Law enforcement, they can't even tell them if it was arson, if it was accidental, nothing, no clues, no leads, no nothing, as if they really just didn't care. I don't know if, and this is Chicago, this is not some small town, this is Chicago Police Department. Absolutely, to me, it seemed as if they put no effort in trying to figure out what happened to this man. Now, obviously there's speculation about maybe Suzanne was involved. I have no idea. I can't say one word. I don't know why she would have wanted to do anything to him, simply because it seemed like the divorce was amicable. It wasn't contentious. There was no bad blood between them. They were in agreement with all the terms of the divorce. So I don't understand why she would have wanted to do anything to harm him. After he disappeared, I don't think she benefited in any way, because the divorce ended up being finalized the following month in March. So they were divorced. She wasn't going to inherit like any kind of life insurance from him. Not that I know of, not that I could find. She didn't gain, there was no benefit for him to die or to disappear. And she couldn't gain anything because it was never proven that he was deceased. I don't think he was ever declared dead at any point where she would have been able to benefit from any type of death benefits. So up until this day, 14 years later, this man is still missing. With no clue, no hint, not a scintilla of evidence of what could have happened. Nothing. Now, there was on his business property, there were these huge rolls of industrial plastic, and one of these rolls ended up missing. And so the family, that right there kind of solidified to the family that he ran into foul plays, that something, some crime was committed against him, that he was harmed in some way when this, huge industrial roll of plastic ended up missing from his place of business. Also, Suzanne herself ended up passing away in 2010, and I'm not sure exactly what she died of. And up until this day, law enforcement has basically classified him as someone who is missing, but no foul play. And I'm like, how could there not be any foul play? The things that stick out to me the most, obviously, are the banners that were put up and torn down, and his business catching on fire. Something in that building contained something that someone felt like was going to put them in some type of trouble. Obviously, to me, it's like it's arson. Like, y'all can't figure that out, that this was, nothing. Law enforcement was just like, you know what, he just walked away from his life. No, we don't suspect any foul play. We don't think anything happened to him. This man just walked away from his life. And it's crazy to me how the family kept on telling law enforcement, something has happened to our brother. This is not normal. He would not have just walked away voluntarily. We're putting up banners to help find him, and someone is tearing these banners down. Renata actually said that she thinks that the reason that the building caught on fire, her speculation is that when they put up that second banner and it was torn down, she thinks that the perpetrator was attempting to burn the banner, and somehow the fire got out of control and set the building on fire as well. That's Renata's assumption. I think that the building burnt down on purpose. There was something in that building that someone did not want to be, someone wanted to keep hidden. And so I think that's why they burned down the building. I don't think Suzanne had anything to do with it. It's just crazy how someone can be plucked from Earth and no evidence, no nothing of what could have happened to them. It's just crazy to me. Like I said, the reason why I found this case so interesting was just like the lack of effort from the police department, and how 14 years later, absolutely nothing. This man just vanished into thin air. The last time that he was seen, he was walking across a parking lot, and he was never seen again after that. Absolutely insane and crazy. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later.